having more of a range in our emotions and our creativity and our perspective, what we can envision for our life, what we can dream into being. I get this sense this month of us expanding our range through allowing these pieces to come home that want to come home. Hello and welcome back to Remember Why You're Here, a podcast for seekers and sensitives where you can relax, receive, reconnect yourself, and remember the most important thing of all, why you're here. I'm Asia Suler, author, earth intuitive, teacher, and in this episode today, we are exploring the energies ahead for the month of August 2026. So some themes that came in for this month ahead include soul reunion, building steadiness, deepening your range in life, and the anchoring of a new future. I'm actually really looking forward to this month of August. What came in for me when I sat down to pull in and tune in to the energies ahead was surprising, but feels really steadying in this way, so I'm excited to drop in. So this month I worked with the Afro-Brazilian Tarot deck by Alice Santana with artwork by Giuseppe Palumbo. And I'm going to tell a little story of how this deck came into my life in just a moment, but I wanted to give a background on the deck because it really helps us understand and orient to the richness of the images that are inside this deck. So this is a new to me deck, and I've been excited to be learning a little bit more about it. So the book is dedicated to the deities of the Yoruba people and also the Brazilian religion of Candomblé. So Candomblé is a syncretic religion that is a combination of the ancient religion of the Yoruba people that was taken with them when those people were brought over from Africa and enslaved. And so deep, deep roots, deep history here to this really ancient religious system, then brought over to Brazil with people who are carrying it. And then it was combined with indigenous belief systems as well as Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, to become what we'd call like a syncretic religion. So this religion of Candomblé includes West and Central African belief systems, as well as the other streams that I mentioned. It's similar to Santeria, if you're familiar with Santeria. And I'm currently learning more about this as this deck has come into my life. And at the center of this deck is a devotion to the Orishas. So how you would describe an Orisha within the Yoruban belief system is Orishas are divine expressions within the natural world, of the natural world. So Orisha would embody is the energy of a river, but then also would carry the energy, say, of fertility or protection or courage. So they're divine living entities in this world that we may know of as natural elements, natural entities. And so they're very deep and very old, and that this deck is based on these beings and based on these belief systems. So do you remember back in July when I told you to start paying attention to your dreams? That's something about July. We'd be having a lot of potent dreams come in. Well, for me, one of the dreams that sort of kicked this off is I ended up having a dream where I was inside of a ceremony and was told at the end of the dream that this was specifically a Yoruban ceremony and that there was an Orisha there that was trying to talk to me. I didn't really know what any of this meant. So I started learning, I started researching just with total curiosity. These lineages, like the lineage of Ifa, for example, these are lineages in which you become an initiate in a very serious way. And so for me, I was mostly just curious where this dream came from, what was being asked of me. And I mentioned this to my girlfriend, and they were like, actually, after you mentioned this, I saw a video about this deck and I decided to get it for you. So this deck just kind of came into my life. I often notice that when decks appear for us in our life, when they are gifted to us, there's normally some sort of like seed inside of the deck for you. So I've been apprenticing in a curious, open, interested way this month with this deck. And so I thought it would be interesting to take something that came into my life through listening to my dreams this past month and bring it into the month of August as kind of a symbol or like a ritual of exactly what I was talking about in the month of July, that our dreams are here to guide us into what's next, that we're here to listen to their direction. This is why I published on the Substack last month the dream remembrance recipe. If you're interested in that, you can check it out over there to help you remember your dreams. So this is me honoring my dreams this month by working with this deck. Okay, let's talk about what I picked. So I ended up picking in this deck the Two of Cups, which in this deck is called the Two of Chalices. So this is not connected to a specific Orisha, but as you'll see in a moment, the imagery that is employed in this deck, it's really deep, it's highly symbolic. And this one really took me on a journey. So the Two of Cups in the traditional understanding of the tarot is often, for me, sometimes it often falls a little bit flat. I'm not going to lie, because often what you'll see if you look up the Two of Cups is sort of talking about like love, happiness, partnership, union. It's like one of those cards you'd get and the tarot reader would be like, you're going to meet someone soon, which can also totally be a way to read this card. And I think there's so many more layers to this card than just that. So I've also heard a lot of contemporary people talk about this card as more of this sense of inner reunion, of reconnecting to oneself, of learning how to accept oneself, find harmony and balance within oneself. And I also really resonate with that. Now, here's what's really interesting about the card itself that I picked from the Afro-Brazilian Tarot. So in this card, we see a river, and inside the river, there's a stone. On top of the stone, there's a turtle. On top of the turtle, there's a frog. And on top of the frog, there is this beautiful red bird, which is a scarlet ibis. So for me, seeing this deck, one of the things that first stood out is so often in the imagery of this card, we're shown just two people, some sort of dichotomy there, and sort of the traditional Waite Rider tarot, it's the man and the woman. But in this, we actually have this stack of four being held in the water. And I love that this came through in this way in this deck, because what this is pointing to in a deeper way is about interdependence. It's about the balance that comes from interdependence, that it's not simply the two halves, right? It's the way in which all the pieces fit together, and that there's a element of four here in this balance as well. And if we look at the symbology of these different animals, we're also seeing this balance between heaven and earth. And I love this idea that the ultimate reunion is actually between ourselves and our bodies and our wider spirits, our wider souls, between the parts of us that are here on earth and the parts of us that are in heaven, this marriage of the spiritual and the physical world. So, the turtle in a lot of diasporic tales is this clever trickster character. So the turtle tends to carry sacred wisdom and this sense of resilience, like this powerful symbol of survival and protection and endurance. Like so much earth energy here. And then we move on to the frog. And the frog is this sort of amphibious in between, right? Like the frog is both of earth and of water. And so oftentimes frogs can be linked to the energies of water, this ability to clear and release. And so we also see starting to move through like the layers here, right, of the balance. We have the water, we have the stone, we have the turtle, we have the frog, and then we have this beautiful scarlet ibis on top. And in my research, I found that the Tupi people of the Amazon, which are part of this syncretic religion of Candomblé, because those indigenous belief systems are highly present in Brazil and have really become a part of this tradition. And so they saw the scarlet ibis, as I found, as a sacred being sent by the celestial gods from higher realms. So I love looking at this card. It feels like looking at this card from a collectivist culture perspective. And I just absolutely love that and the way it's shifting how we are feeling about the Two of Cups and what the Two of Cups means for us. So, with that, let's get into my reading, aided by this card, guided by this card, for this month ahead. And I think it's really going to deepen our understanding of why this card is showing up. And just to say, this card is traditionally like a good luck card. It's a card that comes up of like, we're talking about like union, balance, like harmony, greater potential coming out from reunion. So the word for me for this month ahead is soul reunion. Reconnecting with yourself, reconnecting with your parts. I loved when this came in, soul reunion. So, what I see for this month ahead is that we have this possibility to reintegrate our own wholeness, to call back to ourselves these parts of ourselves and reunite with them. I really heard this message that this will be a month of spontaneous soul retrievals. So, spontaneous moments where you are bringing back pieces of yourself that might have gotten lost along the way. So, let me talk about what I mean when I say soul retrieval. So, this is a term that's often used in cross cultural shamanism. Soul retrieval is when we reconnect to parts of our energy, parts of our essence, parts of our soul that have somehow gotten disconnected from our bodies, from our physical forms in this lifetime. This sounds extreme, but it's super common. And in some ways, it can be very subtle. So, anytime a part of us felt like it had to leave in order to keep itself safe. So, I often say it's like that little child hiding in the coat closet when their parents were fighting. That is a part that kind of took itself away and hid itself for its own safety. So when I say, sometimes people talk about like lost souls, to me, it feels less like a part of us being lost and more like a part of ourselves somehow just needed to walk away to stay in a safe place, to stay in a place where it could keep itself intact. So I feel that this month is one where we're going to be having these spontaneous soul retrievals. We're retrieving these parts of ourselves from where they are and reintegrating them back into the whole. And it felt a little bit like last month, those adjustments we made, like whatever was the series of adjustments that you made, the requests you made to get your needs met, the adjustments you made with how you're living your life, what supplements you're taking, how you're working, whatever those adjustments were, that it made it so that now you can actually call back in these pieces of your power. Because here's the deal, our soul is our energy, it's our wholeness. And so, as parts of our energy has gone elsewhere to keep itself intact, we lose energy. And so when we call that energy back, we're actually bringing back power, potential, and perspective to us. And we see this when we look from a Western psychology lens at it from this perspective of internal family systems, IFS, or parts work. And so this idea that within our psyche, we have a collection of parts. This is entirely normal and natural. We have this overarching self that is looking over at ourselves, seeing all the parts in total. You would call this maybe our oversoul, the part of us that sees the whole picture. Because again, no part of ourself is ever lost or gone forever. It's just that it gets a bit disconnected from our physical form, from our current state of consciousness. And so in parts work, we often do this process of speaking to these parts, negotiating with these parts, talking to these parts, and bringing them back. So in shamanic practice, what this often looks like is undertaking a journey where you are moving through a landscape in the unseen world and the imaginal world, and you are retrieving and bringing back that part of yourself. You're meeting that part of yourself where they're at, where they feel safe, where they need to be, or where they needed to be in the past. And then you're speaking with them. You're asking them, what do you need to come back? What do you need in order to feel safe enough to be here with me? And what's cool, what I got about this month that's really cool is that these parts want to come back, and it's not going to take that much negotiation. It's really just asking for our awareness around this. And this sounds, I don't know, maybe it sounds like highfalutin or fancy, but it's not. We're actually doing soul retrieval work all the time. Anytime you put on that song from your teenage years that just like, oh, makes you want to like rage again, and it like brings back that fire and that energy of your teenage self, that's a little soul retrieval. Maybe you had, someone gift you a photo of yourself from a time when you were little. Maybe you're 5 years old and you don't have many photos of yourself from that age. Someone gave you this photograph and it felt like a piece of you just came back. This is happening all the time. It's happening without our conscious awareness, but what's neat about this month is that we actually have the ability to do this consciously and call these pieces of our power back online because they want to help us to really envision this new future ahead. And so as you retrieve these parts of yourself, more and more and more of you come online, and that's really the goal in this lifetime, is to come into wholeness, to reintegrate parts of yourself that, split off or need to leave or can't be present in that moment. And this is a continual process, right? But we welcome them back. We create the space for them to come back. And then when they come back with gifts. They come back with perspective. They come back with talents. They come back with passions that help us then orient towards our life from a place of greater wholeness within ourselves. So there are various ways to go about this process of calling back your own soul parts that are ready to come home. I have made a meditation specifically for this month. I felt really passionate about doing this. I love soul retrieval work. It's one of my favorite things to do with people. So I recorded a soul retrieval meditation that I'm going to post over on my Substack next week. It will be for paid subscribers only. So if you're interested, you can sign up this week and it'll land in your inbox next week. And so this meditation was designed to guide you through this process. It is gentle, it is supportive, and ultimately it's very empowering because when these pieces come back to us, we really feel more of our power and our potential in this lifetime. So if you're interested in that, you can check out that meditation that will be launching next week. Also, other things you can do, you can go into this in your imagination, right? When maybe before bed or in a quiet space, imagine yourself asking where those parts are and just traveling in your mind and seeing what they need, asking what they need to feel safe to come back. That's the best question to ask any of those parts. Talking to yourself out loud, speaking to your parts out loud. This makes it real. Our parts like to be talked to like that. Speaking to them and asking, what do you need? What do you have to say? What are you feeling? This is all very healing. Also, taking yourself on a parts work date or on a soul retrieval date. And this is thinking about, if you have an idea of maybe what that part is, how old that part is, designing a date that is specifically for them, something that they would love to do or something that would really make them feel safe or cozy being back here with you. So, maybe you're going to take your inner child to the store and buy them a stuffed animal. Or maybe you're going to take, your 10-year-old to the museum and spend as long as you want in the Egyptology exhibit. Whatever it is that makes sense for you, these are all examples of soul retrieval that you can do really at any time. And I have a feeling this month that it's going to be it'll be easeful. It's like this sense of like, I want to be with them again. And they want to be with me. So let's just open the door and allow them to come back in. And then I invite you to notice, what new interests, talents, passions, or purposes are starting to come online this month, because that's the really cool thing. When these parts come back, they bring that back with them. The things we put on the shelf, the stuff we were like taught that we weren't good at, or that we somehow, needed to give up. All of these things start to come back, and we start to have more clarity on where we're actually headed and where we want to go next, what we desire next for our life. Anytime I tuned in for this month, literally, and I sat down many times for this, they just kept saying soul retrieval, soul reunion. And so I just really think this is at the heart of our theme for this month. But this month there's something about this month about finding missing parts. It's like any part that you were missing to accomplish what you are ready to do next in this year of the fire horse, you are finding those parts this month. And spoiler alert, like the real missing piece is you, right? The real missing piece is your connection with yourself, your self-belief. And so, when we do this kind of soul retrieval work, what we are creating is like more steadiness. If you think about this literally, when parts of ourselves are compartmentalized or they're in other places, we end up feeling like we are in several different places at once. But it's a point of power to bring all of yourself here right now. And when you do that, you form kind of this chain, this bridge between heaven and earth, which brings us right back to our beautiful card, the Two of Chalices. It's like this connection, right, between your physical self and your spiritual self. You get completely realigned in that way. And that's a real place of power in life. And one of the things that my guide said to me in this is, in talking about this, because this is all they wanted to talk about, but they said, we need all of you here. Like we need your wholeness. We need you. We need all of you here. And so this is really an act of service for the collective to gently call these parts of you back home, these parts that are ready to come back home. And so there is this sense in this month, I think about two being this energy of like, even as we individuate, we are creating stability. There's a stability in two, right? And so there's a sense of building energy this month, creating solidity for yourself, and solidity through this reunion with yourself. This is very practical work. It sounds very spiritual in some ways, but it's actually incredibly practical to do this kind of work. And one thing that came up from my guides was they were saying, even if you have moments where you feel stuck, to know that you're building something this month through retrieving those parts of yourself. And in one of my last sessions, I said, okay, anything else? And they started talking about the sticks. And I was like, what sticks? What are you talking about? Like sticks outside? And then I realized that they were referring to this sort of colloquial term of the sticks, like the places like all the way on the edge, right? The edge of town, the edge of the county, whatever it is. And I realized, talking about the sticks, that it's like sometimes we need to go out into the sticks in order to bring back these pieces, right? So if a part of you is feeling like stuck or maybe a little adrift or like, where even am I right now? Where you are is you're doing this soul retrieval work. And so just bring your focus and your attention back to that's what you're doing. There's a part of you that's out there that's saying, hey, I'm ready to come back. Please come get me. Like, I'm ready to come home. Please come get me. And so you're finding your way to retrieve them there. So just, notice if you are in a place this month where you feel a little bit stuck or you feel a little bit stagnant. Just, notice what are the stories you're telling yourself about this space? What is it that feels stuck about this? And what part of you is holding that belief? Because it's only a part of you, and that part of you is probably playing some sort of protective role and wants to be brought back into the fold. So I still feel like, so last month I talked about how we're doing these micro adjustments so that we can just fly down the runway of this year. And this August month, it's part of the runway of this year. It's like, I almost can feel like it's like when that plane finally makes those adjustments and gets onto the runway. And then like before it starts like really moving, you feel the engines like revving. That's kind of what this month feels like. It's like this like rumble, this rumble energy, and it's building, right? It's like this building energy. And I wanted to say too, what I loved about getting the Two of Chalices for this month in particular as well, is that there's a lot of fire this year, right? It's like fire, 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 fire in the astrology, in the Chinese astrology for this year. And so, one of the things that my acupuncturist said to me in speaking with their teachers is, we're going to need water. We need water this year. That's the counterpoint to all of this fire. So I love that the Two of Chalices came in for us, because this is like such a benefic water card. It's like pouring some gentle water on you as you do this work. And there is the sense of this energy this month that there's like doorways into subtlety here, that it could be subtle, what you're experiencing, subtle but powerful. So when my experience with soul retrievals is that when these pieces come online, it doesn't feel like, oh my God, my whole life is different overnight. It feels like, whoa, I feel more myself. And it's a subtle reorientation, but it's powerful, right? It's like suddenly I have access to more. And, this is why I talk about this process and why I mentioned as part of the themes of deepening your range in life. This is really the goal in many ways of healing from trauma, healing from fragmentation, is coming back into our wholeness, and through that wholeness, having more of a range. Having more of a range in our emotions and our creativity and our perspective, in our capacity, what we can handle, what we can envision for our life, what we can dream into being. I get this sense this month of us expanding our range through bringing these pieces back, through allowing these pieces to come home that want to come home. You can handle a greater range than you realize. And it's the sense like on the other side of this month, that range is going to expand. And I know I talked back in, I think it was April, about intensity energy and how that intensity energy is helping us like attune to and know how to be with intensity in a way where it doesn't make us feel drowned, but it can give us like energy for the moment. So it feels a little bit like what we're doing right now is we're pairing some of what we've learned in April and what we carried through into these summer months, summer where I am at least. And now it's like we're going to gain access to more range, which is wonderful, right? Like it's wonderful to have range. It's wonderful to have space. Like you have so much more range than you realize. And so there's something this month about deepening your range in life, which opens up possibility for you. And ultimately, at the end of this month of soul reunion, so special. I'm excited this is happening for us. There's this sense of calling in a new future. Where we are at from our current consciousness, we can only envision or see so much of the future. But the more we bring in these parts of ourselves, the more we reintegrate into our own wholeness and gain access to this wider spiritual vision, we're able then to expand our consciousness in a way where we can see more of our future. We can envision more of our future. And I don't know about you, but I've had this theme this summer of like really still feeling that fire and that drive and the need to make change. And I made so many adjustments in July, but it was almost the sense of like the future itself was kind of like nebulous. Like I'm not totally sure. And oftentimes I'm someone who has like a 5-year plan, and it was a bit like, I just know I need to make these changes. I just know that these are the projects I want to focus on right now, or the changes I want to focus on. And there's like a little bit of a nebulousness to it, but I have this feeling like by the end of this month, come September, we're going to have like more of that future in our vision. And part of why we have not been able to envision it is because we are bringing these pieces back in. We are creating more wholeness inside of ourselves. And from that expansion of our consciousness inside of this body, inside of this lifetime, we're going to be able to call in a new future, one that we couldn't even have fully envisioned for ourselves even last month. So there's so much wholeness, integration, balance, reunion, reconnection happening this month. Hey, leave open for the possibility that in your own connection, in your own soul retrieval, that you will then have in the outer world that reflected to you. Maybe it's meeting someone new who really reflects your wholeness back to you. Maybe it's partnership in a business. Maybe it's making a new friend. Maybe it's, connecting with a new idea or a new resource that really helps you like feel your own wholeness again. This is a lucky card that we got for this month. So you also be open to those moments on your path, almost like deja vu, those moments on your path where you're being shown, yes, you're in the right place at the right time. And notice these synchronicities, because these synchronicities are coming to say, this is exactly where you are meant to be. So I'm just really honoring you and all the parts of who you are, all the brilliance of all your parts, everything that they have done to safeguard their energy, to protect your own soul, and their wisdom in knowing that it's time. It's time to come back and reintegrate. And soul reunion what more could we want out of life, right? So I am excited for this month ahead. Again, if you would like access to the soul retrieval meditation that I made, head on over to the Substack, become a paid subscriber, and I will send that to you next week. I have this secret goal. Well, I guess it's not secret anymore because I'm saying it right now, but I have a goal to be able to get to the point on my Substack where my Substack is supporting the cost of the production of this podcast. I'm about maybe 60% of the way there right now for the monthly cost of producing this podcast. So it really is so impactful and meaningful to me. For those of you who have signed up to be a paid subscriber so far, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is really helping me and supporting me and continuing to create the podcast in this way. And I'm truly just so grateful for all the ways in which we have continued to connect here. It's been really special. The community that has formed around this podcast and the people that I've connected with through this podcast, it feels like connecting to a soul group like this allows even more of the soul retrieval, the kind of soul retrieval I'm talking about, to just happen spontaneously. And that then we end up with this gift that is the gift of being our full self in this world. And is there anything else more beautiful than that? I don't think so. So thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this collective. I'm super curious to hear how this month lands for you. There are really beautiful conversations happening over on the Remember Why You Are Here Substack. So if you have a reflection about this month, about last month, what flowed for you, I'd be so curious to hear about it there. And if you are loving this podcast, it would be like sprinkling fairy dust over my wings if you left a review or you simply hit that like button or gave it a heart or whatever it looks like on the platform in which you're listening. It really supports the podcast so much, and it just brings so much warmth to my heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sending you so much love for this month ahead, for the month of August 2026. May it help you come home to yourself. May it bring in the kind of steadiness, perspective, and passion you've been craving. And may it help you remember that most important thing of all, why you're here.